Picture this. You're on the tennis court. The ball is flying at you. You take a massive swing and whack! The impact sends this jarring, painful shockwave right up your arm. Ouch, right? But then, on the very next serve, you hit the ball maybe just a few inches lower on the strings. And it feels like slicing through butter. Zero vibration. Just absolute perfection. So, why exactly does a racket violently sting your hands when you miss, but feel completely effortless when you hit that perfect spot? Well, this isn't just about athletic skill. It's actually a real-life physics mystery centered around something called the percussion point. And today, we're going to unpack the exact mathematics behind it. By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand rotating collisions, the math of angular momentum, that's L equals I omega, and how to actually calculate this magical sweet spot. Okay, before we get into the heavy math, let's visualize a simpler, real-life rotating collision. Think of a heavy bowling ball smashing into a set of pins. Those pins don't just slide straight backward, do they? No, they go flying and spinning violently through the air. This is a perfect illustration that collisions don't just transfer linear momentum, straight-line motion. They also transfer angular momentum to extended bodies, forcing them to rotate. All right, let's dive into the foundational formula here. Angular momentum, which we represent with the letter L, is simply the rotational equivalent of linear momentum. And in a system where the net external torque is zero, this angular momentum is completely conserved. We calculate it using the formula L equals I omega. Here, I is the moment of inertia, which is basically just how much an object resists spinning, and omega is its angular velocity, or simply put, how fast it's spinning. Let's make this a bit easier with a classic example. Imagine a simplified two-dimensional setup. We've got a 50.0-gram disc sliding across a frictionless table at a rapid 30.0 meters per second. It slams into the end of a motionless stick that's 1.20 meters long. But here's the catch. This stick is nailed to the table at the opposite end. The disc hits, it adheres to the stick, and together, the whole system starts spinning around that nail pivot. Now, to figure out exactly how fast they spin, we need to know how much they resist that spinning, meaning their combined moment of inertia. We just take the disk's point mass formula, that's mr squared, and combine it with the rod's rotation formula, capital mr squared over 3. When we plug in our masses and lengths, we get a total combined moment of inertia of 1.032 kilogram meters squared. So here's the crucial part. Because angular momentum is conserved, meaning the initial momentum of that sliding disk has to equal the final rotational momentum of the combined object, we can just mathematically divide out that combined moment of inertia we just found, and boom, we get our answer. The stick and disk spin around the nail at a final angular velocity of 1.74 radians per second. Now wait, this is absolutely important. Look closely at what happens to the energy here. Before the collision, the disk was flying along with a translational kinetic energy of 22.5 joules. But right after they stick together and start spinning, the rotational kinetic energy of the system plummets to just 1.57 joules. Why such a massive drop? Because this collision is completely inelastic. The objects physically stick together, and a huge amount of that kinetic energy is lost to heat and deformation. At this point, you might be asking, wait, the object is rotating in a circle now? So is rotational kinetic energy a vector with a specific direction? The answer is no, and this is a super common mistake. Energy is always a scalar quantity. Just like linear kinetic energy, rotational kinetic energy has absolutely no direction in space. It's strictly just a magnitude. Now, what's really fascinating about this scenario is the linear momentum. Before the crash, the sliding disk had a linear momentum of 1.50 kilogram meters per second. But after the collision, if you calculate the linear momentum of the moving disk combined with the moving center of mass of the stick, the total linear momentum actually increases to 2.20 kilogram meters per second. Hold on a second. How did linear momentum just suddenly jump from 1.50 to 2.20? I mean, isn't momentum supposed to be strictly conserved in collisions? This is exactly where things get really interesting, and it's heavily tied to that little nail holding the stick to the table. Let's resolve this paradox. That nail is acting as an unbalanced external force. When the disc smashes into the far end of the stick naturally tries to push backward on the nail. But thanks to Newton's third law, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the nail actually pushes forward on the stick. And it's this exact forward push from the nail that imparts extra forward momentum to the entire system. So, let's bring this all back to our original tennis problem. Think of your hand holding the racket as that nail. If you hit a tennis ball near the very end of your racket, your hand gets pulled backward. If you hit it too close to the shaft, your hand gets violently pushed forward. But if you strike the ball at the exact right intermediate spot, zero force is exerted on your hand. And this brilliantly illustrates the sweet spot, which in physics is scientifically known as the percussion point. The percussion point is the specific location on an extended body where an impact produces absolutely no reactive force at the pivot. Hitting this exact spot is what prevents all that nasty vibration, delivers a smooth swing, and basically saves athletes from developing tennis elbow. Before we wrap up, let's quickly review our key takeaways. First, angular momentum, L equals I omega, is conserved in rotational collisions, provided the pivot exerts no torque. Second, completely inelastic collisions lose a massive amount of kinetic energy. Third, external pivot forces, like our nail or your hand, can radically alter linear momentum. And finally, the percussion point equals zero force on the pivot. We've mastered two-dimensional collisions on a flat surface today. But consider this. What happens when angular momentum enters the third dimension and spinning objects start exhibiting bizarre gyroscopic effects? Well, that completely changes the game. We'll be tackling that mind-bending 3D vector physics in our next